Hello folks, how's it hanging? It's your Rad Daddy here, returning to you with episode 10 of our Clone Army series. During this episode, we are still going to be continuing our glorious campaign against Void. However, there is something that everyone has continued to bring to my attention, and I feel that we should address it. Cloning! Yes, that is right, you guys have been telling me for God knows how long, and today we are finally going to be using a mod to actually clone more soldiers. The mod that we will be using for this is Clones 1.4. I know there's some other good mods I could use, but I don't know, this is the first I saw and I went with it. After researching the technology, we ended up building 11 growth vats for our little clone babies to grow in, yeah! Which was perfect because all of our clones were male, and so they don't really have any lady parts to grow any babies in, and yeah, you get it. A big metal and glass uterus, just like Ma used to have. Wait a minute, what? Never mind, no time to explain. We have DNA to harvest from our Kid Heavy class. Now, originally, I was thinking that these new clones would be part of the Kid Heavy class, and I guess they still could be, but I was thinking of giving that class to Wartwart as his own personal squad. So let me know what you guys think about that in the comments section. As for now, though, let us admire this little tadpole thing swimming around. Bro, you're telling me that this little piece of chewed bubblegum is going to be a clone soldier? Ah, whatever, as long as we can shove a blaster in its hand. But you know what's better than one piece of chewed bubblegum with a blaster? 11 pieces of chewed bubblegum with blasters. Aw, here you go, little fella. You a little bit of rice make you big and strong, yeah. Alright, knock it off. This shit's getting weird, and also it's going to take them a long time to grow, so we have some other stuff to do. First and foremost, you've heard me preach about it for the last 2 or 3 episodes, defenses. We are going to be working on defenses. Given the theme of this series, I have added the Remsenal Security Pack mod because I felt that the defenses included in that mod would be perfect here. So we immediately began researching into some of those technologies. One of the first type of turrets that we would research are the Shard Sentry turrets, which are much better than the vanilla or vanilla-ish turrets. We would then begin research into Jotun Siege emplacement. Now, research into these technologies are going to give us access to a massive manned cannon, which is great, but we're more interested in what's called the barrage turrets, which is basically a big missile turret as far as I understand. And you know how much we love using explosives against Void. We would immediately begin working on a row of the Shard Sentry turrets on the western side of our base. However, slap dab right in the middle of building this row of turrets, we ended up getting a raid from the UNSC. Ha! Nothing to be alarmed of, I'm sure. Oh. That's a big raid. It would appear that the UNSC has mustered an enormous force against us to finally try and take their revenge after all the spankings we've delivered to them. They brought ODSTs, they brought Spartans, they brought Space Marines, they brought Mechanoids, they brought everyone. And we're still gonna bust their chops, baby. They would immediately begin attacking our defenses, and I think this is a really good example of just how weak the previous defenses that I had set up were. Even against the UNSC and their smorgasbord of enemy types, the turrets were basically useless. They barely made a scratch. So you can imagine just how weak they'll be against Void. Lucky for us though, our turrets are not even our secondary line of defenses. They are the bottom line of defenses, and our army is as powerful as ever. We chased the UNSC army around to the front of our base, where we would then engage with them there and begin killing more and more and more of their troops until they eventually fled. Ah, those poor, dumb, foolish, ugly UNSC cowards. When will they learn their lesson? Well, nothing to do now except go around and finish all of their little weak soldiers off and maybe carry a few of their bodies to the pile to be burned. What's this? A Space Marine, eh? Yoink! We're gonna take that big fella home with us, enslave him, and make him our friend. Now, you may be asking why I'm enslaving him. Unfortunately, he has unwavering loyalty. But that's alright. Lucky for us, his consent is not required for our friendship. We're bad people. Anyhow, though, with that threat neutralized, it was time for us to get back to working on our defenses. And we need them now more than ever. I think that raid truly proves that. Truly more than anything, we would work on an abundance of these Shard turrets, as the cost to make them was quite a bit less than the actual bombardment turrets, although both of them are very useful. It of course would be a very long, tedious, and drawn out process though to try and replace all of the turrets that we had previously built with the new type that we've researched. Luckily though, we did not have a shortage of manpower. But after a while of working on our beautiful and wonderful defenses, we had finally enslaved Crimson, the Space Marine, and he is our friend now. against his will. A win is a win, baby. I'll take what I can get. As for Crimson, I think that I will actually add him onto Wartwort's squad along with the Kid Heavy class. He'll make a wonderful deadly addition, and Wartwort can keep him in line. At one point, we had a trade ship in orbit around the planet. I don't remember exactly what kind of trader they were, but I do remember they were willing to buy all of our Crucible cores from our meat bot supply, which was perfect. We also ended up buying some resources off of them. It wasn't really needed per se, but what the hell, we have plenty of silver. And honestly, things were going really well for us. Things were really looking up. We had a very defended base, a beautiful, amazing base on the inside where all our clones love to live, and I'm trying to fill this clip with plenty of talking because maybe I accidentally filmed this for like an hour while I went and had lunch and came back, and you know, the clip was extremely long and I had to speed it up to over 100 times speed or so, and phew, thank God it's finally over. With the monumental cleanup and defenses finally finished, it was time for us to give the UNSC a little bit of payback though. We flew out to one of their nearby strongholds with the idea that we were going to bomb the shit out of them and then piss on the ashes. However, after arriving, it would appear that someone else has already burned down this stronghold and took a massive dump on the ashes. But who could be responsible for this? I'm just kidding, obviously. We all know that it's Void, those devilish bastards. We could see them all squirming around like worms in the stronghold from our ship above. These disgusting, squirmy, wormy little freaks make me sick. Among the filthy Void worms was one large and strong-looking worm as well. No doubt some type of Void-made abomination soldier, I'm sure. Oh well, it hardly matters though anyhow. They will be cleansed by our nuclear fire soon enough. We put in the call back home and requested a carpet bombing of the area. Somehow, though, the mighty abomination Void soldier managed to survive our nuclear blast without a scratch. Oddly enough, the soldier would then leave the area. But Wartwort was no fool. He knew this was not a retreat. This massive abomination was simply testing our mettle, simply trying to get a taste of our real power. Wartwort and his squad would head back home though in the ship and then report back to Napoleon about what had happened. In the meantime though, while we're making more nuclear bombs and preparing for more battles, I want to take a moment to thank our friend Adam-MZ8HB, who actually recommended the retexture mod for the solar flare shields. Thank you ever so much, Adam. These look wonderful. The texture on this is just amazing. And now, while we're still on the topic of the solar flare shields, I also want to thank our good friend user-HM1F03LY5N, I hope that's not on your birth certificate, who also recommends that we begin generating more power because the solar flare shields actually use up a lot more when they're active compared to when they're idle. So we immediately began having our clones research into some advanced power technology such as advanced solar panels. It took a little bit longer than expected, but eventually we did finally manage to get that researched. After which, of course, we would prioritize building at least 3 of those to start us off. In the future, of course, I would like to begin building more though. Up until this point, our only form of power has been the Voidtech power cells, which are wonderful and whatnot, but their power output is only 1,000 watts, which is a lot, but compared to the advanced solar generators 3,400 watts, it's not as much, of course. For a little while, we were mostly focused on trying to make sure that we're feeding our massive army and taking care of them. However, at one point, I realized that we have so many defenses all around the outside of our base, but for the majority of our raids with Void, they always drop inside the base. So we began building some kinetic turrets on the inside of our hallways to try and better protect our army. After that was completed, we would begin another small campaign against some of the Void fortresses nearby. Well, I say nearby, but by that I mean on the other side of the continent. Ah yes, yet another massive Void fortress for us to murder all the inhabitants of. Truly our favorite pastime, is it not? And would you look at that, the big purple eggplant abominations here as well. Well, guess what, Mr. Abomination? We're gonna bomb the absolute shit out of you. We're done taking it easy on Void. We're gonna drop every single nuclear bomb we can on them. We loaded up the fusion and nuclear warheads and began flying down there. You know what time it is. It's time for another bombing run. Let's do this. Dear God, even after all that, after the smoke cleared and the majority of their soldiers were dead, that big bastard was still alive somehow. Not only had he survived all of those fusion and nuclear warheads that were dropped on the base, but he had done so and made it out with only a scratch. Oh, he is truly an impressive specimen, is he not? Finally, after all this time, a worthy opponent. Such a shame though, because we're on a very tight schedule here. We'd love to stick around and kill you, but we have more of your friends and allies to kill. Toodaloo, our purple big friend, until we meet again. And believe you me, we will meet you again. But unfortunately, for the time being, we have yet another Void base to destroy. This time around, we're all out of nuclear bombs. We're going to use pure elbow grease. And a little bit of molten hot plasma, of course. Napoleon, Wartward, and all of our squad began approaching the base from the front. And as we did, the Void soldiers began coming out to engage with us in battle. God, I love these battles so much. I wish I could just kind of pause and take it all in. You know, I just want to take a second and say that this has probably been one of my most favorite series that we've done on this channel. And honestly, I couldn't have done it without all you guys. All of these evil Void bastards and also innocent people from other factions that we've slaughtered throughout this series, they wouldn't have died without your help. So I just want to say thank you again. I love you guys ever so much. Now, let us continue. The enormous onslaught of Void soldiers continued pouring out from the front of the base. Lucky for us though, reinforcements would arrive just in time. Our two ships landed and outpoured our army to help us in this battle. Unfortunately though, we did end up losing 2 of our elite Kid class soldiers. Their deaths would not go in vain though. We all gathered around the base and began blowing holes directly in the front door so that we could march in, storm the castle, and take everything we wanted. However, while our army was doing that, I realized our 2 dead soldiers were no longer dead, and I was actually very confused. Well, it turns out that the Neratonin-4B serum that we gave them is actually the same serum that Void has that resurrects them, apparently. So technically, we lost 2 of our soldiers during this battle, but technically, we didn't lose shit. And you know what? That is a win in my book. Just as well, we had all kinds of food in the Void base, and we were running a little bit low back home, so this was perfect for us. We would also end up finding some fuel here as well, which was perfect, except Void destroyed one of our ships, so that kinda sucked ass, but at least we have fuel when we get another one. Of course now though, there was nothing to do but load up all the resources that we could take back home, and then, well, head back home. This did take a little bit of time because we had to drop the troops off at the base, come back, get the remaining troops, and then head all the way back home once again, but we did finally manage to get that finished. But once again, as we always do, we managed to come out victorious against Void. Wartward and Napoleon would celebrate yet another victorious campaign against him by sipping on some red wine together in the cafeteria. Truly an outstanding friendship those two are forming. But my friends, we are coming to the end of the video, and I would just like to mention once again that our campaigns against Void are really paying off. At this time, there are only 2 remaining Void bases left on this entire planet. I really don't know how many we started out with on the planet when we added Void, but I know it was a lot more than 2, so we've done a lot of work. And once again, I would just like to say thank you, because I could not have made this series without you guys. Your love for this series, the characters, the mods we're using, just everything is amazing, and it really just inspires me. So thank you guys for everything that you've done for this series. You guys are wonderful as always. I love you so much. I'll see you in the next one.